Thank you for the introduction. And Julie Manning was my predecessor. I started the beginning of this year and had big shoes to fill, and I'm still trying to fill those. So I hope today I can do part of that in a fairly effective fashion. First, a little bit about me and why I'm excited to talk about some of the economic information today as part of this data report on the state of the region. I actually am a software type programmer back when, 30 years in the software and technology business, so you could think of me as a technology nerd. We won't go into how I ever got into politics, but that's a whole different story, not for today. In that career, I spent 30 years. I finally retired as a senior executive, so I ended up spending the last part of my career more running businesses, dealing with numbers and the like. And after I retired, I got involved in community service, social service agencies, but also continued an interest in how do we promote in Corvallis and Benton County new businesses, business growth. Decided I was not an entrepreneur, so I was going to be one of the cheerleaders and supporters in that. So with that, today I'm happy to talk about some of this information to give you a perspective of where this data is going in life. So wealth creation, education, innovation, jobs, business development, starting, growing, retaining, recruiting businesses are what make up our economic future. And it's a key for our future as a region. And the data we have today and in the report tells us how over time these indicators are changing. And I'll talk a little bit about that. The higher and better our indicators are, the better our economy is doing. The inverse can be true too. So we're continuing to look at positives and negatives, but the indicators will also tell us where we can find opportunities. Some of these opportunities are unexpected, like cluster of industries or a graduating class in a new field. We've heard about some of the growth areas earlier today in some of the prior talks. Others, to borrow a phrase, are smoldering that we should fan to grow, which is perhaps not the thing to talk about before today when it got to be rainy again in terms of being in the forest and in a dry period of the year. But so anyway, we're looking to find areas to start new growth, building aerospace, marine science, manufacturing industries, and I'll jump ahead of something I'll point out later. The patents around here, a number of them, particularly on the table back in that corner, represent businesses that have started and are growing in this area. So let me go through some of those indicators, tell you about some of that data, and let me talk about education, talk about migration, tourism and tourist spending, jobs, wages, and employers, and patents. So as I said, I'll come back to the patents. So let's begin. What you see up behind me is the beginning with education. We find our region is ahead of our peers and slightly lower than the national average for the percentage of population aged 25 and older that had a bachelor's degree. How educated we are. We are closely aligned with the nation in terms of the percentage that has a bachelor's degree or higher, and that's 29%. Our region, along with northern Arizona and southeast Idaho, is estimated to have a high proportion of adults, over 35%, with some college or an associate's degree when compared with the national average. So the education level is moving along. Let's try this further. Having a college or technical degree is a huge advantage in today's economy, even factoring in the growing cost of education. According to a Pew Research study, the difference between earning potential of some degree over none is double. I'll repeat that. The earning potential of having a degree is double that of having no degree. And unemployment is almost quadruple between a college or technical degree and none at all. So education is critical for our citizens to have the kind of life they should have by having the kinds of jobs they have. In fact, during the recession, it was citizens nationwide who did not have a degree of some kind who bore the brunt of the economic collapse. They are the vulnerable population. Thus, providing access to affordable education, like we do at OSU and at our community colleges in this region, is key. Our good news is that we are doing okay, but we can always do better. So now shifting, as a region, we are increasing our ability to retain and attract a well-educated workforce, and companies that demand high-level skills and capacity in all fields. While education plays a key role in our economy, so does the ability to attract talent, families, retirees, and others who value our lifestyle. So let's talk a little bit about migration. This map shows the estimated migration into the region from other counties in Oregon and across the United States. The majority of people moving within our region are people who have moved to a different residence within the same county. So let me state that more correctly, since I just realized I misworded it some. Of all the people who move either in or out of or around our region, most of it is within the region, within the same county. Among people who moved here from outside the region, most have moved from another county within Oregon. The top 5 counties within Oregon that people moved from into our region are Lane, Marion, Washington, Multnomah, and Clackamas. The top 5 places that people moved from into our region from outside of Oregon are Asia, King County, Washington, Clark County, Washington, Honolulu, Hawaii, and San Diego County, California. So Asia was at the top of that list. However, part of the explanation may be an OSU impact, because the data on international student enrollment at OSU provides insight into the large proportion of movers coming from Asia. Between 2004 and 2014, the number of OSU students from China alone has increased from 141 to 1,430. So a fair number of the Asian in migration comes from students, many who will stay here, stay in the region. But as someone referred earlier, this also represents a bit of a traded sector business, where we're actually importing dollars and doing education as part of how we're enhancing our environment and growing that way. An interesting anomaly in this data, which I found curious, is a connection of Maricopa County, Arizona, which is Phoenix, to Lincoln County, and specifically Lincoln City. We show a small but disproportionately large movement of new residents to Lincoln City from Phoenix. I don't know if that's people who want to see the sea, who don't, and they're in the middle of Arizona, but it is an interesting one, that the attraction of Lincoln City for those who live in Maricopa County. These folks may be first home retirees attracted to the coast to see the sea, but it is a demographic worth studying more. And while we want to attract new residents, we also want to attract tourists. They visit our region, stay in our hotels, eat in our restaurants, and provide much of the needed boon to our economy. You can see the numbers up there. Tourism is a significant economic driver in our region. Attractions ranging from whale watching to wine tasting, from bicycle tourism to famed country music festivals. Benton, Lincoln, Lynn counties captured $713 million in combined tourism revenue in 2014, with food and beverage spending accounting for the largest share of the spending at $194 million in the region. Specifically, wine grape harvesting has almost doubled in our region since 2008. A significant proportion of wine produced stays in Oregon. Get it out of our area and let it go elsewhere so we can bring the dollars in back to the traded sector. If you think about the complexity and attractiveness of our native wines, the Pinot Noir, and the demand for it across the world, we have a unique opportunity to promote wine tourism and to sample some of the most unique vintages and wineries found within 50 miles of where we are today. And Cascadia is the home of the top wine-producing regions in the world, which includes Bordeaux, Chianti, as well as Mendoza, Argentina. So promoting and building a wine tourism sector alone would be a boon to our economy and to job growth in the region. I would also pass on that I think I'd also put a personal plug in for building the craft brewing industry. As we heard this morning about Lebanon, it's a key enhancement in Corvallis, and this whole area does a lot of that. But anyway, off script, and I don't know where Fred is. I may be in trouble now, but so anyway, continuing on, indicators can also project what our economy may look like in the future. The Oregon Employment Department has issued projections for wage and employment by occupation for residents of our region for 2012 to 2022. The highest wage jobs will grow in the professional and related sector. The majority of the job openings projected during this time are in service occupations. These occupations include protective services, firefighters, law enforcement, security guards, construction flaggers, and so on. Food preparation and service, building and grounds, cleaning and maintenance, personal care and service, entertainment attendants, funeral service, personal appearance, child care workers, and so on. However, OSU still employs the most people in the region and will for the foreseeable future. On to the next slide. I would also note there, and you heard this number earlier from Kelly Kaiser, second there is Samaritan Health Services, which is 50% of that employment. So those two are key employers in this area. Large employers in the region, those with 250 or more employees, will make up less than 1% of all employers. So we have a few very large employers. But on the other hand, those large employers provide 44% of the jobs. On the other hand, the smallest employers, those with fewer than 20 employees, represent 88% of all our employers. And they provide 30% of the jobs. So they are still a significant proportion, a large number of those, and they need to be nurtured so they turn into larger employers as we go over time. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the highest paying jobs in the region are the manufacturing and information sector. You can see with the chart bar, the light bars in these charts. Excuse me. The service-producing industries employ the most people with an average wage of $33,829. The highest average annual pay, however, is in the manufacturing at $61,166, which accounts for 7.5% of the jobs. I have to correct myself. That's $62,166. I didn't correct that in here. It is critical for us to do a few things to boost our economy region-wide. First, celebrate and encourage our traditional economic base of forestry, agriculture, fisheries, and manufacturing, and to work with the state and federal government to not lose these important sectors. Second, to continue to start, grow, and innovate with our business, university, and philanthropic partners in first-generation industry. For example, aerospace, marine sciences, metal manufacturing, agricultural products. Third, to build out and capture our second-generation industry, our chemical and wet lab manufacturing, green technology, energy, hardware, and nanotechnology. And the last thing we need to do is to work together across the region to ensure we don't lose any jobs or industries to competing markets or because we don't have the infrastructure for growth. Job growth anywhere in our region is good for all of us, and we should embrace it, collaboration, keep that goal in mind and keep that happening. Given the industry and startups in our region, I am thrilled to see the number of patents and inventors we have among us. This is another way to show innovation in our community. Our region's prevalence of patents is evidenced when considering the number of patents secured here in comparison to our peer regions. And it's interesting, this is recent data, but patent data compiled by Harvard Business School for 2009 to 2013 show that our region received 1,156 patents during that 5-year period, while the closest of our peer regions, northern Arizona, received only 218. And I say this is a recent 5-year period, so it doesn't have to do with what earlier data had to do with, for instance, HP and the Corvallis area generating a lot of patents. This says we're still in the business of generating patents. And you can see some of the fascinating ones historically from HP, but different areas shown on the tables back in the back of the room there. So I urge you at the break, at lunch, to go look at that. The largest category of patents in our region is semiconductors and other electronic components, which aligns with businesses and industries in our region. So all of that, we've seen the jobs, we've seen tourism, we've seen education, we've seen migration, and now the patents. Much more data about the economy is in the report. But I would like to come back to and point out we do have a number of these. And I think they range from games to healthcare to modular nuclear reactors on that table. And you can see history and then where we're heading with printers on the HT table. So be sure to take those in when you get time later on this morning or at midday at lunch. So I now have the honor of introducing Mr. Dustin Harrington. Dustin is the Vice President of Manufacturing for Celmet. Celmet, headquartered in Albany, is a worldwide leader in manufacturing of titanium casings for the aerospace industry, one of our leading industries in this area. Dustin has been with the company for more than 20 years, has also been a member of the Albany Area Workforce Development Advisory Council since 2014, and joined the board of the Multiple Engineering Co-op program in 2010. Please help me welcoming Dustin to the podium.